Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Welcome to Breeders' Cup Focus 2020. And in this edition, we're going to take a look at the top contenders for the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile as ranked by preliminary morning line odds from DRF's Brad Free. Complexity, the 5-2 morning line favorite on Brad's line, has just gotten himself back into good form. Of course, he won the Grade 1 Champagne last year. He won the Kelso last time out. And he'll be the deserving favorite in here, Mike, especially if the number 2 Vekoma, winner of the Grade 1 Carter, winner of the Grade 1 Metropolitan Handicap, but inactive since then, opts for the Breeders' Cup Sprint as expected.
Yeah, true enough. I mean, it's a pretty tough call with Vekoma, no matter where he runs, just because we haven't seen him in so long, Dan. But he's certainly a very talented horse and would be a handful in either race if he shows up with his good race. I guess Complexity would be a deserving favorite, if only because of one race, and that's the most recent race that he has on his card, Dan, the Kelso, a one-turn mile at Belmont, where he just looked really good and he ran a very fast race that day.
Let's watch that performance. He beats a nice horse in Code of Honor. Now, he had the benefit of his tactical speed in this race, where he got the jump on Code of Honor, but let's not make light of Complexity's performance. He ran a 110 Beyer speed figure. I think one of the main questions that horse players have to ask themselves in determining Complexity's chances for the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile is this. Will he be as effective around 2 turns as he is 1? He has really been good around 1 turn at Belmont.
Yeah, that is a big question. It's a totally different kind of a race. It does sort of feel like he's come back this year as a 4-year-old, Dan, and he's starting to, really take the steps forward that it felt like he was struggling to do as a very lightly raced horse prior to that. I mean, he's just in really good form. So maybe he will be able to get to 2 turns. But you know what? He's going to be a very short price in this race, and it's not like there are not questions surrounding this horse.
A really fascinating entrant, hasn't won a dirt race since 2017, and that's Sharp Samurai. But it's not for lack of trying. Let's watch his most recent dirt race, the Pacific Classic, going 1.25 miles 2 starts back, and that's not some nobody beating him on the front end. That's maximum security, and Sharp Samurai really gives a good account of himself in this race. He was always okay on turf. This was a good performance against a very good horse, and a mile is his game. They might have found the right spot, and the way this field is shaping up, they might have found the right field.
Yeah, a mile does feel like it really is his best distance. I guess he has that going for him. Listen, he ran fine in the Pacific Classic. I'm not going to knock him. He was second, maybe by default in there with some other horses not really showing up, but he still ran a triple-digit Beyer. Pardon me if I'm not sold on him, but will probably be a good price in this race.
Mr. Freeze ran a 107 Beyer earlier this year, going a 1-turn mile at Gulfstream, but he handles 2 turns, especially at Keeneland. Let's watch his prep for this race, the Grade 2 Fayette. I think 1.5 miles a little far for Mr. Freeze. He got the jump on his competition turning into the stretch, and he's going to hold sway at the wire. He does have plenty of fast races, and I do think the 2-turn mile just really going to hit him right between the eyes.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. The mile is a good distance for him, especially around 2 turns, and it might even, a 2-turn mile might even be an advantage for this horse as opposed to some of the others. So that, makes him very interesting. I was happy to see him sort of rebound, Dan, to win that Fayette last time because he had been pretty disappointed in his prior 2 starts.
Maybe the horse for course angle will work for the number 5 Knicks Go, who has risen from the grave to win his last 2 races for trainer Brad Cox. 100, 107 Beyer for a horse that had basically been written off after he ran second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile in 2018, Mike. Remember, he shocked the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland back in 2018. He's got his speed back, and again, he loves Keeneland.
Yeah, he does. And you know what? Not only, no matter what happens, whether he turns out to be good enough, to become a Breeders' Cup kind of horse or not, he makes things very, very tough for a horse like Complexity in this race because this horse is nothing but speed. And you know that if he runs here, they are going to try to make the lead with him.
Art Collector, who's on the second slate of 10 that we have listed for you, is likely to be also pre-entered in the Breeders' Cup Classic. And considering the way he won the Bluegrass at Keeneland, the Ellis Park Derby, then missed some time and missed the Kentucky Derby with a little injury, and then just didn't fire his best shot in the Preakness, he would probably fit in either race, although the mile is an easier spot on paper. I think if he goes here, he's interesting.
Yeah, I do think this would probably be the better spot for him. And you're right. I mean, there are ways to excuse his Preakness where, overall he was pretty disappointing. But there are ways to excuse it. He had 3 fast races leading into that. And it does feel like, a rebound. He's a rebound chance in the Breeders' Cup Mile, especially. I think the Classic might be asking a little bit too much of him right now.
Silver Dust is a graded stakes winner, and we've always thought, the shorter, the better. They run him 1.125 a lot, and he always tries hard, and he always comes up short, seemingly. Last time out in the Ali Sheba, he ran just fine behind By My Standards, who's going in the Classic. My main concern is I just don't see Silver Dust as kind of a Breeders' Cup horse.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair way to look at him. He's not a horse that wins a ton of races, but he's actually pretty talented. And I agree with you. I think the mile is probably a really good distance for him. Maybe the Breeders' Cup is just too tough for him, Dan, but I love this horse. And if he runs in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, I'll try to find a way to use him at a price.
If this race was run at Gulfstream Park West, Bodie Express would be very, very pleased. That's where he does his best running. Now, he can be a little bit naughty behind the gate. He acts up. He sometimes doesn't want to go in. When he does actually break from the gate, he's fast, and he could add even more speed to the party, perhaps hindering the likes of a Complexity.
Yeah, he would bring a lot of extra speed to this race. I, would be surprised if he was good enough to beat a field like this, but he's pretty fast.
War of Wills, perhaps the most fascinating entrant in this race. Of course, he's best known for winning the Preakness in 2019. Mark Casse tried to make him a turf horse this year, and he had some success. He won the Maker's Mark Mile, although I didn't think that was a very strong race, and it was a blanket finish. He ran okay in the Woodbine Mile, but I think Casse found a good spot here to return to dirt.
Yeah, I don't have any argument with them coming back to dirt now with this horse. I was, one of the people who was, sort of hoping that they would eventually return him to turf, which they did this year. And as you pointed out, he became a Grade 1 winner. So it all worked out well for them. But we already know that he can handle dirt. And it actually might be a very smart move to bring him back to this surface now.
We'll see where Vekoma heads. From all indications right now, the preliminary indications, he's likely to go in the sprint. That would leave Complexity as the favorite. You've got some interesting turnback candidates. I mean, Sharp Samurai did go 1.25 miles 2 starts back. Mr. Freeze went 1 1/8 last time, and some up-and-comers as well. This dirt mile could be very interesting, and it could be ripe for a price.